Marco.
Yeehaw,
Marco.
it's bull wrangling time. Do you like me?
Yes, I do like you, dear viewers. I do certainly like you a lot. And we're here. We're back. I like that we're back.
It's all about residual income.
It so is, DJ Khaled. It is all about residual income. And we're here.
It's an evil world we live in.
It is an evil world we live in. That will make you say bumbleclot several times, when really what you want to be saying is...
So, baby, how good was that?
Sorry, I just want to use my new sounds. I gotta give one more for the Scott Johnson.
I took a full load.
Love that. It's an evil world we live in, indeed. Future has said it very well. And I hear this audio in my head multiple times a day, every day. It's actually surprising that it took me as long as it did to add this sound to the stream deck. Too dark? There we go.
It's an evil world we live in.
It's an evil world we live in, and today we are going to be looking at some of this evil while we watch Patrick Bet-David and Eric Worre's interview from hell. This is an interview that I did show some short clips of, or a short clip of, in my video called Exposing Patrick Bet-David's Pyramid Scheme. Now, if you're a true goon and a true supporter of the channel, you will have been watching my channel very closely, and you'll know that this video I put out about a month and a half ago about Patrick Bet-David now has 200,000 views. 200,000 views, which was originally a stream clip. This started out as a stream I did like 2 months ago. I then edited that stream down into a shorter 25-minute video, which now has 200,000 views, and it is one of my top 9 or top 10 most viewed videos ever, which is crazy considering the amount of work I put into it. But hey, I guess work smarter, not harder. I don't know. So I've been getting a lot of people who have reached out to me. I've been getting a lot of people reaching out to me in the past month who are keen to share their stories of working directly with Patrick Bet-David. At this point in time, if you're watching this, Patrick, at this point in time, the access that I have to what is going on inside of Valuetainment, the company, is second only to me actually physically being there in the office myself. I'm not going to name names, but the amount of people who have reached out to me anonymously and like on WhatsApp and whatever is staggering. I can tell you that just last week, Valuetainment lost 7 staff members, including, hold on, here are some of the roles, including, wait. 7 people out this week at Valuetainment. Head of events, marketing, and merchandise, among others. This is from somebody who used to work at Valuetainment, work with Patrick Bet-David, who is in a group chat with former people who have left the company, and they all sort of get together and share their horror stories post-exit of Valuetainment. And get ready for me to release a video on this soon as well, on the actual cult of Valuetainment, the company, because the amount of stories that I've heard already in this past couple of weeks since I put out that video is so insane, the amount of shit that goes on. And it's like, I shouldn't be surprised, because anytime you're dealing with somebody who all of their business acumen is, all of their business experience is from running a multi-level marketing company or being involved in a multi-level marketing company, that business experience is tantamount to no experience, because it's not a business. It's not real. It's all pretend Fisher Price play businessman. It's not real. So that being said, I want to not spoil too much. So we're just going to watch this Patrick Bet-David, Eric Worre interview so you can see some of the cosplaying of businessman that is going on. But I'm very excited to drop some interviews with people who used to work at Valuetainment, because the stories are just completely fucked. Like, again, this is all alleged, right? Because we're on the internet. But the stories that what has been communicated to me, so that I'm imagining I'm on the stand in court right now, and the opposing side is arguing hearsay. So I'm on the stand right now, and I'm saying what has been communicated to me is that the environment was a toxic environment rife with bullying on the part of Patrick Bet-David, who would like love bomb you 1 second and then call you late at night the next and curse you out for not being not doing good enough. So let me actually shrink down here and go to my judge's stand properly. There we go. There we go. Hell yeah. Also, for all my Zoomers that are watching, I have a I have something for you too. Just so we can all pay attention to the stream today. In case anybody's mind starts to wander, just let me know in the chat. Drop a donation or something. Streamlabs link in the chat. It's the pinned comment. You know, YouTube be taking 30% of those super chats. So if you want to drop me some coins, like our friend down there in Subway Surfer is getting all those coins, go ahead and hit that link. And if you're getting distracted or you're losing focus, go ahead and hit that, and I'll switch it back over to this screen just so we can wake up our minds again. We wouldn't want anybody to wander off to sleep, and you know, maybe I'll add some Family Guy on the sides of the screen as well. I wouldn't want anybody's attention span getting too strong. And of course, it's always free to thumbs up the ting.
Thumbs up the ting.
And click like on the stream. I know YouTubers say it all the time. It's annoying. It helps a lot. Blah blah blah. Okay, first, this is just my opinion. Patrick Bet-David is not a good person. Aside from running an MLM scheme where 99% of people will lose money by design of the scheme, and it is not an accidental thing that was, you know, the losses were not an accident caused by people not working hard enough. It was a design element of the scheme that people lose money. It is made for people to lose money on purpose so that the very few on top can get rich. I've made so many videos explaining how this works. But there's one thing I want to show here, because this happened just in the last few weeks since I made my since I released that video on PBD. And I want to show you this. This is Patrick Bet-David now getting flack because he is trying to insert himself for clicks and for exposure into the beef between Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens. Candace Owens recently left the Daily Wire. Who knows if it has something to do with their differing views on Israel-Palestine, blah, blah, blah. Not the point. The point here is that Patrick Bet-David has put out this public call to action saying that he will donate $250,000 to Laken Riley's family, contingent on Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro fighting about Israel on his show. Now, if you're not aware of this, here, let me just pull this up. So Laken Riley is a girl who was murdered by an illegal immigrant, and it has stoked the flames of conversation around like immigration in America. Patrick posted this.
My proposal to you, if you're America first, we, Valuetainment, have agreed that if you want to do the sit down with us, a fair and balanced sit down, the moderating of the two of you, we will give $250,000 to Laken Riley's family. Because of what's happening today with illegal immigration, it's the #1 issue in America, and I think it matters to the both of you. So no matter where you live, today we're raising our kids in America. So I want to make sure we're America first. And last but not least, my proposal to you, if you're America...
Okay, so that's just a clip of it. We're not gonna...
When you get to Canada, tell M to drop and give you 50.
Hey, thank you so much. Hold up. When you get to Canada, tell him to drop and give you 50. Shout out to Drake, of course. Shout out to Drake, always. Why would you play with Drake? Wow, Shifter R with the big bag, $68.77. I'm guessing that's $50 USD. Why did that not pop up on the screen? Did it not? Here, let me refresh the dono alert. But wow, thank you so much, Shifter R. Really, that means a lot, bro, for real. Thank you. Yes, if you see the dono goal up top, I'm I'm having to go back to Canada to handle some very important business. You know, I'm in the fight of my life right now, and it's reached a critical point. And where I am in the world, it was incredibly, incredibly expensive to get here and to get back to Canada. So if you want to help your boy out, you know, now is the time. If you've ever considered supporting the boy, now is the time. Now, this Patrick Bet-David invite for Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro to argue on his show has a couple of layers of douchery to it, because first of all, not only is he using this tragic situation as a means of like think about all the different things he's trying to pull together that are newsworthy. Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro, Israel, Palestine, and then somehow you're inserting yourself into that and trying to bring these two big voices onto your show to talk about this very big and controversial issue, while also adding the cherry on the cake of being like, yeah, and also if this happens, I'll donate $250,000 to the family of this other girl who was also a huge story. It's like he's just, you can see how in his mind, you can see how him and the Valuetainment cronies were sitting there being like, what's the most possible clicks we can do? What's the Avengers Infinity War of like click-worthy shit that we could do, with completely zero regard for the humanity of it or the inhumanity of it. It's like, bro, if you were gonna give money to this girl's family because it was tragic and you had the money to give, which he does, he's a multimillionaire many times over, you would just give the money. You know, this is like when influencers like put a camera in a homeless person's face and they're like, hey bro, you're homeless, here's $1,000. It's like, you know, I don't know. I just think it's fucked. Julie in the chat says PBD is cooked. Yeah, I have to agree. I think so. And then the next layer of the madness of this clip is that Patrick is like on this wave of like, you know, conservatism, America first. Yet this guy built his entire what he has now off of immigrants. Could some of them have been illegal immigrants? I don't have that data, but based on what I've seen in my own experience from MLM companies don't care if you have a criminal record. MLM companies don't care if you're an illegal immigrant. As a matter of fact, in the documentary Betting on Zero, which is about Herbalife, it documents how Herbalife distributors would purposely try to recruit illegal immigrants because A, they had no other options, they had no papers. This would allow them to easily recruit that person because they had no other options, and it would sort of keep them in bondage because aside from all the other ways an MLM company can keep a victim in bondage, it, you know, them having nowhere to go and them being threatened with, you know, what we're going to call ICE if you don't have your, if you try to leave. That's another point of, you know, control. That's another way they can bully people. So am I saying that happened in PHP, Patrick Bet-David's MLM company? I don't know. All I'm saying is that from my own experience in MLM companies that I've looked at do have illegal immigrants present as part of their distributor base. So, and Patrick, by the way, let me see if I have this link still. I gotta see if I have this link. But people reached out to me after my Patrick Bet-David video came out, pointing out how it's so ironic that Patrick Bet-David is all on this like America first, you know, very critical of immigration and whatever, but he himself has used, has like bragged about how immigrants have made up his company. I'm looking through my DMs with one person here right now to see if I have this clip, because I asked somebody to send me this clip of Patrick Bet-David talking about how immigrants have helped build his business. Hold on one second. I might have it here on Instagram. Give me 1 second. I'll see if I have it. Should I do a stream on Andy Elliott as well? That dude's just been covered to bits, so I don't know if that's necessary. Here. Maybe I don't have it. Fuck. I'm not. That's the difficult thing, bro, about being on multiple different platforms is I don't remember when somebody sends it to me. If somebody sends it to me on Instagram or on Discord or where they send it to me, you know. Here, somebody sent me. PBD comes across like the typical American dad, immigrant type, hustling the American dream. I'm trying to find the link somebody sent me, and I can't find it. If you have it, if you have the link to that video where Patrick Bet-David is talking about how the immigrants have built up his company and how he's so grateful for them. Actually, you know what? What the fuck am I talking about? I have it. PHP. Here it is. Sorry. I found it myself. Nobody fucking sent it to me, actually. This is it. Here. Switch over to this. Okay, so this, what we're looking at is the PHP agency. This is from their actual website. 2021 DEI Transparency Report. Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Transparency Report. Let's check this out. PHP, 2021 U.S. active agent population. About 50-50 male and female. 46% male, 53% female. 6% military veteran. 90% no prior industry experience. Sexual orientation. While the company does not specifically survey LGBTQ+ out of respect for personal privacy, ironic because that's one of Patrick's favorite things to talk about and criticize on his show, the company is proud to recognize multiple teams led by self-identified members of this important community. Just pandering. Here we go. Race, ethnicity. The largest chunk, 42%, are Hispanic or Latino, 32% Black, African American, 11.25% other. This would be literally everything else. Indian, Asian, fill in the blank. And then 13%, the smallest, sorry, the second, well, actually, yeah, the smallest, because other is multiple different ethnicities bundled up together. So the smallest group is white Caucasian, 13.83%. Why does this even matter? Because it shows that, yet again, MLM companies thrive off of recruiting immigrant communities, minority communities, and I've speculated before that this is because not only do these communities have large families that support each other and are known for working hard. You know, when the brother joins, it's easier to get the mom and the dad and the grandma and the sister to join. Whereas with white family, how many white families do you know where they had like 6 kids? It's very rare to see that. Arab families, Indian families, Mexican families, you're more likely to see them with more children, aka more downline. So MLM companies love this shit. And unfortunately, also when it comes to, in America, Hispanic, Latino, Black, African American demographics, these are also, unfortunately, historically, people who are disenfranchised, people who have worse opportunities when it comes to like education, career opportunities after high school, etc. Don't hate me. That's the stats. You know, I'm not making this shit up. So it's so funny to me that Patrick is so critical of immigration. You can go hear him talk about it on his show, and yet this is only 3 years ago. His own company is publishing like I love publishing these stats, and I love that they have this sexual orientation thing just put here in the text at the bottom without this fancy like graphical representation, because it's so. I mean, Patrick is the head of this company. He's the CEO, leader of this company, founder of this company, speaking on stage at their events to this day. It's so easy to see when you go watch his videos and he talks about this, how like disgusted he appears to be with that community. And I'm not going to offer my own opinion about that social movement or what I think. My point is just that Patrick is a complete hypocrite. I don't think he actually believes anything. I think he sees what the like hot talking points are, what the hot topics are, and starts talking about it because he knows that's what's hot. Think about it. I said this in my responding to MLM hate comments video, which came out after I put out the Patrick Bet-David video. People were commenting being like, oh, you're just using Patrick's name for clicks. Bro, Patrick, that's all Patrick does. All of Patrick's biggest content, is him interviewing other people who were already newsworthy in their own right. They were already hot. They were already popping. Patrick just inserted himself into that. You know, it's like when a new rapper comes out and they're popping, all of a sudden Kanye pops up to do a feature for them. It's like, obviously it's you know, it's mutually beneficial. They're gonna the new artist is gonna benefit from doing a song with Kanye, and Kanye's gonna benefit because his relevance peaks again, and you know, it's how he stays relevant and blah blah blah. That's exactly what Patrick Bet-David is doing. You know, it's like, oh, this is a hot topic, okay, let me get this person on my show. Or this person became a viral meme, let me get this person on my show. When was the last time you actually sat there and watched a video of Patrick Bet-David just by himself giving you knowledge from his own experience, his own mind? Well, spoiler alert, he has none to offer unless you're interested in learning how to scam people with a multi-level marketing scheme. Wish I could make this shit up. Wish I could make up the fact that there's I wish I could make up the fact that there's 170 people watching but only 81 likes. And the math ain't mathin'. PBD's guy Ricky was trashing illegals, then the next sentence talks about his dad sneaking here and having 3 construction companies. PBD once had an ex-football player in a round table, and he started sympathizing with black folks struggling, and everyone around the table just started telling him he doesn't know what he's saying. Somebody else sent me a great clip, too, of Patrick talking about Israel and Palestine. I might have to play this, too, just so you can see Patrick is only good at echoing talking points and saying them with such conviction that it seems like he actually, A, knows what he's talking about, and B, believes in the shit he's saying. When actually it couldn't be further from the truth. There's also, I'm so glad, it seems like since I put out my video about Patrick, more people are coming out and telling their stories about Patrick Bet-David. There's this video as well from this gentleman, somebody posted it in my Discord. What's the guy's name? The guy who did like an hour-long show on Patrick Bet-David. You know what I'm talking about, right? What's the guy's name? Come on, y'all. Help me out here. I really got to do a better job of knowing who sent me what and where. One second. Grifter's gonna grift, so true. I mean, yeah, coffeezilla did one about Patrick a few years ago, but it seems like he's only gotten bigger since then. I mean, he has only gotten bigger since then. Capitalizing on someone else's strategy, why not donate the money anyway? Exactly. Jordan Peterson went to his event. I mean, he was paid. He was probably paid. And also these, I explained in my Patrick Bet-David video, I spent arguably the longest section of that video explaining why it's so clever to disguise your MLM pyramid scheme as an insurance company. And I detail the layers of disguise that are present in an insurance disguise that aren't present in a, you know, Herbalife disguise or a fitness or, you know, crystals or whatever disguise. The insurance disguise is so clever that it's possible that Jordan Peterson actually was convinced that it was an insurance company, and Shaq and Kobe. You know, how the fuck do they know? I'm not talking about Hassan. Shout out to Hassan also. You know, say what you will, but he definitely got my video more exposure by reacting to it on his stream. I'm talking about, yes, Jason Whitlock. Thank you so much, Julie. The black sports guy, she says. Yeah, well, for lack of a better description. Jason Whitlock, shout out Jason Whitlock. He talks about MLM as well. LOL, look at this. 10 hours ago, PBD sends minions to eulogize Whitlock. Oh, and he talks about the Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro, Laken Riley thing. So yeah, Jason Whitlock, almost 500,000 subscribers, posted him. Patrick as Calvin Candy is such a funny image. He posted a video. Where Where is it? This video right here. 5 days ago, Jason Whitlock responds to Patrick Bet-David's attack. And it's an hour-long video, and he talks about, you know, Patrick running an MLM and all this shit. It's definitely, you know, if you're interested in hearing about that, go watch it. But I'm just glad that more people are calling out Patrick Bet-David, because in my opinion, the guy is a fraud. The guy is, like I was saying before, I don't think Patrick actually believes anything. I really don't. If he believed that, you know, in this, like, you know, good blue-collar worker, you know, American dream, just grinding it out philosophy that he preaches about, why did he initially make his bones on YouTube with interviewing criminals? For a long time, that was Patrick's whole brand, that, like, the banner of his YouTube channel was like him and all these former mafia guys, like what's the guy's name, Sammy the Bull and Michael Francesi. He was doing these interviews with these people, like that was the whole thing, was like an organized crime podcast, you know? And now it's all about like the good, you know, being morally true and ethical, and like, what the fuck? Again, you can just point to so many different things where he'll say one thing now and he's was saying the other shit a few years ago, or you'll find another clip of him being a complete hypocrite. His company's website celebrating the LGBTQ members of the company, and then you go watch his podcast and there's nothing he despises more. And then you see him talking about immigration and how critical he is of it, and then again the DEI report from his company, and we're so proud to have, you know, look, majority Hispanic people. It's like, bro, you can't make this shit up. You cannot make this shit up. There's another great clip. PBD. There's a video of, oh yes, here it is. PBD, Piers Morgan, Israel. There's a clip of of PBD talking about Israel on Piers Morgan. I want to find this short clip. Somebody sent it to me. I know I have this one in my DM. Piers Morgan. Okay, here. Let's see. I know I have this clip. I know I have it. Hold on. I know I have this one. I saved it. I'm sure I saved it. Fuck, I take too many pictures. I don't want to watch the full 26-minute long thing that's on YouTube here. If I flip over and I show you what the options are, I don't want to watch this entire right here. I don't want to watch this entire 26-minute thing and waste your time watching that. But there's a clip from this. There's a clip from this. I wasn't even planning on talking about this, which is why I don't have the clip prepared. But there's a clip where PBD is talking about Israel, and just like gets completely bodied and starts fumbling and bumbling and trying to get off the topic. Oh fuck, I can't find it. Sorry y'all. If anybody has the clip, again, I don't know what platform somebody sent it to me on. It could have been on my email, it could have been on Discord, it could have been on Instagram. Okay, anywho. FMOs are not MLMs. Patrick saying FMO was just purposeful obfuscation of the truth, trying to throw you off the scent and give you a red herring and confuse you when he said that to CoffeeZilla in their interview. PHP is a multi-level marketing company, and Patrick admits as much. You know, one of the euphemisms that people in the industry use for MLM is they call it network marketing, which is of course just another fancy sounding name to disguise what it really is. And PBD admits as much on this interview he did with Eric Worre, which I've talked about. I mean, top 3 benefits of network marketing according to Grant Cardone. How to destroy your credibility in 2 seconds. From network marketing struggles to success, how I transformed my life. Eric Worre, in my opinion, is either a person who is, because of a chemical imbalance in his brain, a psychopath, or because of conditioning throughout his life and brainwashing and, you know, negative influence, is a sociopath. because Eric Worre's entire brand is called Go Pro. Here's his channel, Eric Worre Network Marketing Pro. Network marketing leaders, I'll help grow your business. If you actually watch any of his trainings, it's just mindless manipulation and mindless motivational babble. And here's Patrick on his podcast, and I included a clip in my PBD video, the one that has 200,000 views now, exposing Patrick Bet-David's pyramid scheme, where Patrick talks about why he chose a network marketing model for his business, PHP. So don't get in my chat talking about, oh yeah, it's not an MLM, it's an FMO. You are just parroting Patrick Bet-David's own bullshit when you say that. And even more bullshit than that is the fact that there's 200 people watching and only 109 likes. We got to make it make sense. All right, let's get to this.
I don't want to play as a victim here, or I don't want to pin this as I was this nice guy and everything, because I also wasn't. I was a worker. I was a driver. I would run through the walls. I wear your colors. I'm all in. Let's go. You know, I'm the guy that if I tell you I'm going to do
I'm also going to put this on 1.25 speed just in case Eric Worre tries to strike this while I'm live.
something, you know, it's on me to make sure I deliver. So I'm not sitting here pinning myself, presenting myself as this angel. 100% I'm not the angel. But at the same time, I expect respect from anybody I do business with. I give everybody respect. Like the whole Anthony Weiner deal, we started off with giving respect, but the moment you
We're
cross
going to
that
get
line,
there. I can't wait.
But what I'm saying is the moment
Yeah.
you cross that line, you're giving me permission to do what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then we have to play ball.
Welcome to the Excellence Project. My name is Eric Worre. And in today's episode, you're going to hear from Patrick Bet-David, one of the most important voices in the world today, thought leader, entrepreneur, business builder, visionary. We cover all kinds of topics in this conversation. I think you're going to find it very, very valuable. So with no further ado, let's jump right into my conversation with Patrick Bet-David. Patrick Bet-David, how you doing?
Very good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Listen, this is something I've been looking forward to for quite some time because you, my friend, are blowing up. All kinds of stuff. Everybody's talking about Patrick Bet-David.
Exactly. Grace says, it's affiliated network direct market sales with a multiple tier earning structure. Duh, not an MLM. So funny.
Everybody's talking about, did you hear that interview?
Today's guest is Andrew Tate.
Did you see that clip?
Your reaction is already an answer.
Did you see on social, every place else? You're on everybody's mind, especially, I would say, in the last couple of years. I know it's been some time coming, but congratulations on all the success.
Yes, I mean, I've known about you a lot longer than you've known about me. Because
Really?
your work is phenomenal work for many, many years. So I'm very aware of what you've done. You've contributed to a lot of people's lives positively.
My friend, I appreciate that.
Not true. He's destroyed a lot of lives, just like Patrick has. This is, again, double speak. When you call something the opposite of what it is to sugarcoat what it is that you've done, to sugarcoat the truth and defend the indefensible. You've helped a lot of people. How have they helped a lot of people? By destroying many people's lives in multi-level marketing scams. To them, that's helping people. You just call it the opposite. I always use this analogy. You've heard me say it before, probably. The US government doesn't invade poor Arab countries to steal their oil and natural resources and destabilize the leaders who refuse to adopt the US dollar as their reserve currency so that the US can control the price of it and print it and control the inflation and by extension control the other companies in the rest of the world. They don't do any of that. They liberate these countries from evil dictators. They're just generously using their trillions of dollars of military technology and Raytheon and Lockheed Martin drones and shit to help this Arab farmer who made $30 in his whole life. You know, they're just trying to help.
When I reached out to your team and I said, yeah, hey, I don't know if you know who I am, and I got the message back, oh no, we know what's going on. But let me give people just a little bit of background, just overview, right? 44 years old, born in Tehran, Assyrian background, yeah. Moved to US at age 10, served in the military, 101st Airborne. That had to be interesting. Your husband, father of 4 kids, 2 girls, 2 boys, growing family. You founded the PHP agency in your 20s.
Yes.
In your 20s, a ballsy move to start an insurance company in your 20s. We want to talk about that. Author of Your Next 5 Moves.
So funny that he says an insurance company, but later in this same interview, he says, what made you want to choose a network marketing model? These people will never admit that network marketing, multi-level marketing, pyramid scheming is what the company is. they'll insist that it's an insurance company, but the method that they use to make their sales is network marketing. I'm not a drug dealer, but selling drugs is the means in which I conduct my business. But I'm a pharmaceutical company.
Master the Art of Business Strategy, which is an excellent book, by the way. Host of the PBD podcast, which is everywhere. Creator of Valuetainment, which is everywhere plus. You host this Vault conference, which you've done for how many years?
4 years now.
4 years. That's why you're here in Las Vegas, and able to stop by. Trainer, coach, consultant. You've got investment businesses. And recently you became a minority owner of the New York Yankees. That's not like a symbolic thing. That's like a real thing.
That's a real thing, and it's a dream, but it's a real thing.
Yeah. So I'm sure I didn't encapsulate everything that's you, but I have consumed a lot of your content. I enjoy it. I think our values align. I think it's interesting. And I think you have a way of approaching topics that is more of a uniting way than it is a dividing way. You certainly have your opinions, but you give everybody a fair shake. I think you're kind of known for being fair. But one thing I want to start off with, you're a patriotic guy, very patriotic to the United States.
Mm-hmm.
I saw an interview with Gene Simmons that he did with Dan Rather once. And Dan Rather sat down and Gene Simmons talked about his absolute love for this country. Where does your patriotic nature come from? I'm curious.
So for us, when I lived in Iran, I mean, we watched Rocky for I don't know how many times, translated in Farsi, by the way. And, you know, the whole thing, the scene at the end when Rocky gives a speech, you know, if he can change, if you can change, if I can change, anybody can change. And
If I can change,
Я думаю, что каждый тоже изменился
and
сегодня.
you can change.
Вы можете измениться.
Everybody can change.
Каждый может измениться.
it was kind of a unified message. He was trying to bring Russia and US together to say, look, we don't need to have a war. We don't need to have this. Obviously, that wasn't a message, but it is indirectly the message. At the time when the movie came out, was fascinating. I watched that movie 100, 200 times. And so it was a dream always to come to US. When you lived in Iran, families either went to Spain, Europe, they either went to Australia, or they went to US, okay? So eventually, when Khomeini died, June 3rd, I want to say, of 89, 6 weeks later, my mom's like, we're done, we got to escape. We go to Germany. We lived in a refugee camp for a year and a half, and then we came to the States, 12 years old. Dream, absolute dream when we came here. And then I'm learning to see what America's really all about. You know, I go to Glendale High School 6 years, and I go to the Army. And while I'm at the Army, you know, we had either Memorial Day or 4th of July ceremony. There's 6,000 of us in the field. We're in South Carolina. And I'm watching some of these E9 sergeant majors or some of these, you know, colonels and lieutenant colonels emotional. They're listening to the music. I'm like, why are these guys so emotional? What is this all about? And then I was curious. I wanted to be 18 Delta. I was recruited because I speak multiple languages, and I was going to go join the 5th group to be special forces. And then they said, before you do this, go interview with other special forces to see if this is a life you want or not. I did. I went and interviewed.
Everyone, stupid comment alert, stupid comment alert. We have a stupid comment in the chat I want to respond to. Stupid comment alert. It's your favorite segment. Stupid comment alert. Stupid comment from Tony DiMaria. Hey, Marco, since his business is considered an MLM, where is his FTC-compliant annual earnings disclosure with breakdown of people who signed up, similar to Amway, Herbalife, etc.? Ooh, got him. Got him. You got me. It's a stupid comment because if you literally took the time, Tony DeMaria, to take your fingers and type PHP, income disclosure, you would see it is the literal first Google result, and you could click it and see that 44% of people, again, it's an average, so it's misleading. It's inflated by the people at the top, this 0.1%, who are making over $500,000, 44% of people made under $1,000 for the entire year, also not including expenses. So again, the majority of people lose money if you decode the language of this income disclosure. Why do people come into the chat? Why do people come into the chat? Wasting everybody's fucking time with stupid questions. You wouldn't be, it would have took you less time to Google that answer for yourself than ask me. But nice try trying to like play a gotcha and be like, well, since trying to prove somehow that it's not an MLM. It's absolutely insane.
With them, and they said, do you ever want to have kids? Yes. Do you want to be married once? I said, I'd like to. How many kids do you want to have? A lot. Do you want to be in a stable situation, preferably? Life is hard, marriage is hard, kids are hard, the whole thing is hard. I'd like to have the odds be in my favor. Of course, life can happen to any one of us. You can't predict the future, but you want the odds. Then I said, this is not a life for you. You know,
LOL Specs said, talk your shit, Tony.
if you're going to do this, this is your wife. This is your kids. This is what you have to fully commit to. And then the more and more they told me the stories of what they did, the more the level of respect on what these guys have to do and the little amount of respect that they get. I mean, right now, a full-time employee for UPS, they just negotiated a contract, their union, the $31 billion contract. FedEx is going through right now. So they negotiate $31 billion.
I might have to put it on 1.2, just on normal speed because he talks too fast. And what is he even babbling about? What was the initial question? By the way, I figured out a genius way to decode whether Patrick Bet-David is lying to you or not. Spoiler alert, he almost always is. If you watch a video of Patrick in an interview, he razzle-dazzles you. He'll get asked the question, do you like apples? He'll then start doing this whole thing, talking, doing these hand motions, facial expressions, telling stories, going on for minutes and minutes and minutes, that by the time you're at the end, you've forgotten even what the initial question was. He is so good at this. If you want to put the blinders on so that you can catch this, close your eyes and only listen to the audio. Listen to the question and then listen to the answer. Most likely, he'll still probably bamboozle you with all the nonsense and storytelling and drivel that you'll still forget what the question was. The real way to know if Patrick Bet-David is bullshitting you is to simply read the transcript on paper where you can't hear his tone, where you can't see his facial expressions, where you can't see his hands literally trying to hypnotize you and tell you, look over here, look over here. If you literally read the transcript of a Patrick Bet-David conversation, you'll see that what he's saying is almost always completely nonsensical. And let me show this to you right now. I'm going to go back, okay? I'm going to go back. Let's listen to the question again, and I'm just going to look at the transcript and show this to you, and then I'll skip back ahead.
Where does your patriotic nature come?
Where does your patriotic nature come from? Okay?
I'm curious.
And now look, just read the transcript. He said, where does your patriotic nature come from? And the answer is, I saw an interview with Gene Simmons. He did it with Dan Rather. Dan Rather sat with Gene Simmons, talked about his love for this country. I watched Rocky IV so many times. So the question was, where does your patriotic nature come from? Then immediately he's talking about Gene Simmons. Then he's talking about Rocky IV. Okay, sorry. Then he's talking about Rocky IV. Then he's talking about the tension between Russia and America. Then he's talking about giving a history lesson on when Khomeini died, June 3rd, 1989. Then he's talking about how his mom wants to leave. Then he's talking about getting here, seeing Memorial Day, 4th of July. Again, if you just read the paper, you'll be like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? But when you listen to it, he has such an effective way of flowing from one thing to the next without you really even noticing what he's talking about. And I said this before on the stream called, what was this stream called that I did? Somebody tell me. I did a stream where I was responding to the PBD fanboy attacks. It was called PBD The Aftermath. This is a live stream I did a month ago. Bro, I'm the GOAT. This live stream has 40,000 views, 38,000 views on a live stream. Who can do that? Crazy. So this live stream was about the PBD fanboys coming out and defending their Lord and Savior, Patrick Bet-David. Complete madness. And in that video, I also talked about something I'm going to mention again here, because if I do a follow-up video on Patrick Bet-David, this absolutely has to be one of the pillars of the video and me talking about it. I have said before that Patrick Bet-David reminds me of my dad. And the reason Patrick Bet-David reminds me of my dad is because my dad has this very similar way of talking and swerving from topic to topic and bamboozling you and charming you and telling you stories and not answering the question and answering questions with questions and flipping the tables on you, and you enter the conversation knowing what your stance is and knowing what you want to say, and then by the end of it you end up feeling confused and worse than you did before, and you went in there seeking an apology, but now you're being put on the back foot where you're offering an apology. Things like this, where they're always doing little shit that you can't quite explain with words, to control the conversation and keep you on the back foot and keep this like power dynamic. Little shit. I can't even be in the car with my dad if he is driving. Because if he's driving, now he's in the power position, the controlling position. Bro, there's been times when my dad is like, let me give you a ride here. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then because he's driving, now he takes advantage of the situation. It's like, we're going to stop here. We're going to stop here. We're going to stop here. And I'm not talking about me as a kid. I'm talking about me as a grown adult. Maybe my car was in the shop or something. And my dad says, oh, I'll give you a ride from A to B. And then we end up going to A, B, C, D, E. And then finally to where I wanted to go. Patrick Bet-David, also, I've said this before, looks like my dad. If you saw a picture of my dad and you saw a picture of Patrick Bet-David, my dad, I think Patrick's a few years younger than my dad, but Patrick Bet-David looks like my dad 10 years ago with no beard. 100%. Like they literally, if you stood them next to each other and said that they were cousins or siblings, like it would be believable. They do look alike. And of course, my dad is Lebanese and Patrick's whatever, but
a little something to help you deal with Erica, who is in her prime.
Thank you so much. You know those girl problems be hitting. Thank you, Ali. I really appreciate that. Thank you. We need that. So true.
Let's indict the mother.
Billions and billions.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate that.
It's all about residual income.
So, the point that I'm bringing up with this, talking about Marco, your dad's talking about Patrick and the similarities with my dad, and several other people have confirmed this theory since I talked about this on the PBD Fanboys Attack stream. I wish I would have included this in the main video as well, but the initial video was already 25 minutes, so what can you do? When people come from, like my relatives, came from Lebanon, right? I just recently watched this documentary before I left Canada. I watched this documentary with my aunt, and this documentary was playing at one of the like local theaters, not like a big Cineplex theater, but a local theater. It was playing at this theater, independent documentary film, and it's called The Lebanese Burger Mafia, okay? My aunt and I went to go see this movie. The movie is about, back in the, I think it's the 70s. LOL, me talking like Patrick Bet-David now. There was shit going on between Israel and the rest of the Arab world, just like today. Israel was bombing motherfuckers. In Lebanon, people had to get out of there. So this movie, this documentary is about a guy who came from Lebanon to Alberta, Canada, which is where I'm from, and started this, didn't start, but adopted this restaurant franchise that was supposed to be the Canadian equivalent of McDonald's, and it was called Burger Baron, okay? And it was actually started by a white guy. Him and his wife ran it. The husband died. The rights to the franchise and the licensing and the logo got caught up in this weird legal limbo situation where now anybody could use the logo and the name. So these Lebanese people basically came in and started opening their own Burger Barons with no legal repercussions to be had. So one guy comes from Lebanon, opens a Burger Baron, and back in them days, there was no internet. So, you know, it was easy, fast money, and this was a very lucrative business for them, was setting up these fast food franchises, you know, in the prairies of Canada, of Alberta, and opening up Burger Baron. Fast forward, somebody else, the cousin or the brother, would come from Lebanon. He would open a Burger Baron, and that would be how he supported his family. And it's this very heartwarming movie about this sort of American dream in Canada that these Lebanese people had by coming to Canada and opening Burger Barons. Fun fact, my dad also had a Burger Baron. If you talk to any Lebanese person in Edmonton, they have a family member. If they were born and raised in Edmonton, they have a family member who was involved with a Burger Baron, who worked at a Burger Baron or owned a Burger Baron. Unfortunately, most of these franchises they're weird. It's not really a franchise, but they're all called Burger Baron. They mostly aren't around anymore, especially COVID shut down a lot of them, etc. The point I'm making here is, in this movie, it talks about how none of the Lebanese people who owned Burger Barons could cooperate with each other enough to make it a real franchise that had its like standard operating practices and recipes and menu and designs and all of that shit. They couldn't agree. Why? Because all of the Lebanese people who owned a Burger Baron thought they should be the boss. And they would meet together and they would try to take a vote on who's going to be the head of the whole franchise, and they all voted for themselves. This is just like, you know, it was played for laughs in the movie. It's like this funny thing where all these Lebanese people are just like stubborn and hard-headed. But you have to understand, these people came from war. These people abandoned careers as like engineers and doctors and musicians, and like they abandoned their passions, fleeing war, starting from completely zero, flipping burgers and making French fries in a country where they were still learning the language, dedicating their entire days to working at this restaurant so that their kids could have the choice of growing up in Canada and choosing what they wanted to do. Okay? These are people who didn't like the idea of relying on anybody else. These were people who were like, you know what? I've got to do what I need to do to make this dollar. And I noticed that there is this mentality, even for people who didn't have this same Burger Baron story, but it's sort of this like immigrant struggle, being a hustler, doing whatever you need to do to make a dollar. You see, you know, Lebanese people that I grew up knowing, you know, when I was in my teenage years, my dad had a Lebanese restaurant, and I would meet all of these people, all of these Lebanese men who had businesses. Never did I recall meeting somebody who was like, yeah, I work for this company. Usually it was always, I have my own shop, or I'm a barber, or, you know, I'm a tradesman, or I have a shisha lounge, or I have a donair shop, or I have a, you know, a shawarma shop, or I have a car detailing business. It was all these things that these people were in control of, that they could work with their hands, that they were in control. They were the owner. They were the boss of their own business because, again, they didn't like other people having the control. And I think it really is just like this. I'm sure it's not only Arab people that have this, but I'm only speaking from my own experience. In my own experience, there is this Arab sort of hustler mentality where it's like, you know, if you've come from another country and you come to America, or North America rather, and finally you have opportunities that you wouldn't have had back home, now it's like you're willing to maybe bend the rules a little bit or blur the lines a little bit in terms of your ethics and your morality in order to keep control, in order to make sure that you're not in that same compromising position again where you're relying on somebody else or where your fate is not in your control. And my point that I'm making with all of this, talking about Patrick Bet-David, is I see this same like immigrant hustler mentality in Patrick, but just taken so far off the edge, and it's in the worst way. In a way that like makes it look bad for the rest of us type shit, you know, where Patrick has this like smooth talking, you know, salesman way of being that unfortunately is selling you lies and selling you a fake dream and selling you a scam and selling you bullshit. That is the problem. But I recognize that Patrick's like way of talking and my dad's way of talking is so the fucking same. Going on the tangents, answering questions with questions, saying, no, I didn't say that when you really did say that, or saying, oh, well, you misunderstood. What I really meant was blah, 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 or no, that doesn't count because, or oh, it's different because. It's exactly the same. Maybe that's why I am so able to see through Patrick Bet-David's whole persona, because I grew up with it. I've seen it so many times. You know, I saw it every day growing up. So that's the point I'm making when I bring up this whole immigrant struggle thing and being Arab, because it allows you to peer into another layer of the scam that you might not have otherwise known about, you know? And every MLM does this, you know? There was one MLM I did a video on, whose name I can't remember, and one guy was talking about how he used to work at a swap meet, and he was a Mexican guy. It's like, this is that same story, that same American dream story, just copy-pasted over and rebranded for the Hispanic struggle, you know? But it's the exact same thing, and then using it, of course, to sell this scam. Burger Baron in the chat. What up, Burger Baron? Spec says, Burger Baron, there's a fervor glaring. I was trying to steal this fork, but the server's staring. Bars, okay. I see you. No, I see you. So it's like that.
Bars.
Okay. Thank you. So, now you know everything. Let me make sure am I a little quiet? Here, I'll turn it up a bit for you. There. A little bit louder. Okay. Let me see what y'all saying. W Yapper. So true. He is a W Yapper. Nobody watches a movie 200 times. Burger Baron wants you to thumbs up the ting for sure. 254 watching, only 145 likes. Definitely click like on the stream. All right, let's continue this here. By the way, I got a shout out to Sev for the donation, $6.88. Thank you so much. I also have to shout out Darius Dillon for the $1 super chat. Thank you. And I also got to shout out Ali Shamshad again for the $20 super chat. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. You're helping me recoup the expenses of getting back to Canada, which is fucking stupid expensive. Never mind the fact that once I'm done handling this business in Canada, I got to come back here, which is going to be another $2,000. So again, if you wanted to support the boy, I know I said the Patrick David video just got 200,000 views, but YouTube does not pay like you think it would pay. That's why I need to live stream. We need the bags coming in. We need the support from the goons. We need the thumbs up the ting. We need the, we need it all. We need it all. Okay, let's continue here.
Time when the movie came out was fascinating. I watched that movie 100, 200 times. And so eventually when Khomeini died, a dream. And while I'm at the army, we had either Memorial Day or 4th of July ceremony. There's 6,000 of us in the field. We're in South Carolina. And I'm watching some of these E9, sergeant majors, or some of these, colonels and lieutenant colonels, emotional. They're listening to the music. I'm like, why are these guys so emotional? What is this all about? And then I was curious. I wanted to be 18 Delta. I was recruited because I speak multiple languages, and I was going to go join the 5th group.
Again, the question is, how did you become so patriotic?
To be special forces. And then they said, before you do this, go interview with other special forces to see if this is the life you want or not. I did. I went and interviewed with them. And they said, do you ever want to have kids? Yes. Do you want to be married once? I said, I'd like to. How many kids do you want to have? A lot. Do you want to be in a stable situation, preferably? Life is hard. Marriage is hard. Kids are hard. The whole thing is hard. I'd like to have the odds be in my favor. Of course, life can happen to any one of us. You can't predict the future, but you want the odds. Then they said, this is not the life for you. If you're going to do this, this is your wife. This is your kids. This is what you have to fully commit to. And then the more and more they told me the stories of what they did, the more the level of respect on what these guys have to do, and a little amount of respect that they get. I mean, right now, a full-time employee for UPS, they just negotiated a contract there.
What is he talking about, bro? The question was, how did you become so patriotic?
Union, the $31 billion contract FedEx is going through right now. So they negotiate $31 billion where an average full-time driver for the UPS is going to make $101,000 per year.
Burger Baron used to be Scott's microphone, respect.
$49 an hour. Some of the drivers...
Patrick got discharged from the army, but you'll never say that. But he'll never say that. You never hear him call himself a vet. Bars.
Going to make $175 per year.
Yes, Patrick never sold his MLM. That's also a lie, true.
That's more than many engineers.
Emily McIntyre, what up?
But military doesn't make that kind of money. These are guys that have a job that are doing their part just for you and I to have this conversation and be free. And the brain is not consumed with war right now. You and I don't go to sleep worrying about, are we going to get bombed? Did a plane cross the border? Are we going to get that alarm noise that's going to go out in the middle of the city where everybody has to go to a place that's shelter, quiet? Is that what we have to do? You haven't even thought about that. We met a couple of your coworkers here, your partners, and they're from Ukraine. And they say, where are you from? Ukraine. My brain automatically goes, boom. What is it like right now there? What are they thinking about? What are people in Russia thinking about? Sometimes we forget how lucky we are to live in the greatest country in the world, where I can still have the opinions, what people disagree with. I can still tell you what my opinions are. We can hash it out and debate. I'm still free. We have the greatest economical system in the world with capitalism. You can make as much money or as little money as you want to make. You can be any religion, freedom of assembly, especially a guy like you that's doing the biggest assemblies. You know, we can go out there and, you know, live anywhere we want to do in the States. You want to live in a place that's politically on a different side, maybe on the left, go to California. You want to be on a side that you want to be left alone, maybe go to Tennessee or go to Florida or go to Texas. We have options. There's not another place in the world that gives us this kind of a climate in here. And the part that's the final thing I'll tell you with this is too often, you know, founder money. If you run a company and we're going to buy these lights, let's just say we're going to buy 20 of these lights. A founder is going to say, how much are all these lights if I want 20 of them? It's going to cost you $28,000. Okay, $28,000, yes. Perfect. Let me get back to you. Then you go back, then you go price it out with 3 other places, and then you find a place, exact same brand, exact same thing, packaging, everything for $22,700. Then you're going to call that guy, you're going to say, hey, I know you want to do 27, but XYZ is doing it 22.7. If you do less than 22.7, I'll buy it from you. I'm sorry, I can't do it. No problem, I'm going to buy it from XYZ, right? That's how a founder treats his money. And a founder who eventually finds people.
Thanks, Walter Turner. I appreciate you.
People to become in leadership positions, he locks onto people who treat the company's money like their own money.
Eric Worre hasn't spoken in like 6 minutes.
But America today, they're using America's money today as if they made it. You didn't make this money. The founders made the money. We got them in debt. They were debt-free. They gave us a debt-free country. We've gotten into debt, so we got to do something about it. There's a mindset with America right now that the people that came before us, you know, we're not supposed to make them proud. They owe us anything. They've done
Dude, what? I'm just going to fast forward because he's just fucking yapping.
To that,
I have to contribute, but we got to do our part to make sure this continues.
To that interview that I saw with Gene Simmons, one of the things that struck me is he was coming in as a little boy in Ellis Island with his mother, just him and his mom, who didn't understand very much English. And she came from, she was a survivor of one of the concentration camps in, I think, Auschwitz. And they were swearing her in. And what got me, and it really got me when I watched the interview, you got to see it at some point, is they ask her to raise her hand and to swear in, and she didn't really understand. So she does this. And the official has compassion, almost starts crying. So, you know, put your hand down. You don't ever have to do that again. Not in this country. Don't have to. I was like, okay, that gives some perspective.
Powerful.
So the interesting thing that I think that's happening today in this country is, yes, we have the freedom of speech, but we don't have freedom of consequences. And some people are determined to provide really, really heavy consequences for people who are speaking their mind.
The irony of 2 dudes saying this who would happily censor me and unperson me off the face of the earth if they had the choice to, if they had the option to.
People are being targeted, people are being canceled, people are being shamed or maligned inside of our country. I think it's a very interesting and potentially dangerous time. It's the reason why I think your voice is one of the very important voices.
Eric Worre is Lex Luthor.
To be able to kind of get some reason in between these different opinions. But one thing I find interesting—
Who told him to wear so many shades of purple? Call the police.
About people who love United States, love, is they have an immigrant, I would say, either
when you need to hit the word count on your essay, literally. Loop up the clip with PBD and Danny Jones. Pat exposes his hand. Okay, I haven't seen that.
They're recent, or an immigrant mentality where they're coming, they're grateful, they're appreciative, they're proud. You know, they're the ones putting the flags out, you know, out in front of their house. And sometimes the ones born here, raised here, they kind of feel entitled, and they almost like bashing their own heritage, where they come from. Do you find that strange?
Very much so. You know, to me, I have a lot of respect for anybody that has a lot of respect for his heritage, for his whatever faith he is, family, last name, anybody that contributed towards him. I have a lot of respect for people like that. I don't have to agree with you politically, but I sit there and I say, you know what? Great. By the way, Bernie Sanders, okay, here's a guy that is a socialist,
yeah.
Okay? here's a guy that politically, him and I are on complete opposite ends politically when it comes down to most issues economically. But you know what I do respect? I respect the fact that he is a true believer of what he believes in. It's not an act. That's really who he is.
Unlike Patrick, I don't believe Patrick actually believes anything. I think he says what he needs to say to the right person in the right moment. That's what I think.
And the election year, it's unfortunate that Hillary Clinton and others pushed him out because it should have really been Bernie Sanders versus Trump. And quite frankly, I would have loved that because it would have been the best debate of socialism versus capitalism, and the world needed to see that. We missed out on that opportunity. So to go back,
it would have been a little bit scary though, because sometimes in certain parts of history, socialists rise up, and there's some unintended consequences from the free stuff.
Yeah. So it's funny. The guests that I bring in, I always tell everybody, if you hated my guest today, be patient. You're going to love the one next week. But if you love my guest this week, be patient. You're going to hate my guest next week, right? I think within a 2-week span, we had Alex Jones and Cenk on. Cenk was on for the second time. Alex was on the second.
Patrick, I'm calling it now. Patrick will never have me on his show because I'm maybe the first person aside from CoffeeZilla. And with respect to CoffeeZilla, even CoffeeZilla didn't actually press him in person. It was over Zoom. Patrick agreed to 1 hour. He answered every question with a fable and a long-winded soliloquy talking about being in the army. If I was to ever go on Patrick's show in person, which I would do, he would never allow it because he wouldn't be able to escape. As soon as he started going off on a tangent about being in the army, I would literally just interrupt him. I would just be like, "Babble, you're babbling." Literally filibustering.
Second time. The Alex community was so happy I had Alex on, but they hated when I had Cenk on. The Cenk community was so upset that I had Alex on. But I want to talk to both of these guys.
Cuando lo conviene, or convenient, I don't know how to say it, which means when it's convenient, yeah. Look up the fake interview PBD did, how PBD is transforming the insurance industry. Love that. Marco gonna be on his Drake shit when he talks to Patrick. The first really only took me an hour or two. The next one really about to bring out the coward in you. Do we need to take a Drake break so that I can tell everybody once again to stop trying to play with Drake? Play with Drake at your own peril, Because
one of the things I've learned about dialogue and discourse is, we used to go to this underground meeting in LA a lot where guys would come in and they would debate. It was in Malibu. It was a phenomenal setup because guys would come from campaign managers from Clinton and they would debate campaign managers from Bush. And you would sit there for 2 hours and there's only 30, 40 of us. And they would go back and forth. That's when you guys made a mistake here. This is when you guys made a mistake here. And it was incredible for me because I love debate. I think we need more debate, okay?
Only if they agree with you and don't talk over you. Don't stop you from talking over them.
More debate we have, the best part of debate is whoever that thought they had the better ideas will be exposed the more they talk.
It's such a shame that Kevin Samuels died. Go search up Kevin Samuels if you're not familiar with him. But Kevin Samuels had so many women call into his show who would talk about being an entrepreneur and a boss babe. And then he would ask them what they did. And they would always say, "I'm working for some multi-level marketing company." I remember one girl called in to one of Kevin Samuels' live streams and said she worked for World Financial Group. I couldn't believe it when I heard it. I was like, what? You work for World Financial Group? Another girl was working for Monet. Just Kevin Samuels, it sucks that he died because he was one of the few people with a big platform who I actually heard him saying no, this ain't it.
We can sound good for the first 10 minutes, 20 minutes. You can give 2-minute liners that somebody else wrote to you to respond and say, here's what you say if they say this. Here's what you say if they say that. But then if we do long format 2-3 hour podcasts, you have to talk 10, 15 minutes. So if you talk for 10, 15 minutes, there's nothing scarier, Eric. If you're somebody that, think about it this way, if you're somebody that you are formatted to fight in one way and respond in one way, and the format is 2 minutes, now you got 2 hours, and the host, you're the host interviewing me, the host doesn't say anything. You're now scared because you're like, can you please stop it? I'm talking too much. Tell me to stop. I'm explaining too much. And then all of a sudden, boom, there's your leak. Got it, bingo, you're out. So there's a hole in your argument. You can't say anything about it. Now we're out. So this whole minimum wage argument that they're talking about, hey, we should raise the minimum wage to $15. We should raise the minimum wage to $20. Guess who doesn't care if we raise the minimum wage? Amazon.
So funny hearing Patrick Bet-David talk about minimum wage as a guy who made a company, who made his money running a company where you don't have to pay people anything at all. As a matter of fact, people pay you to work for you and then end up losing money anyways, 99% of the time.
Walmart doesn't care. These companies don't care. Guess who does care? The small shop that's been passed down from generation to generation in the family for the last 8
PBD talking about talking, so funny. PBD would never debate me, bro. I'm sure he's probably seen my video, dude. I'm sure he's probably seen it. 200,000 views. At some point, it's like, okay, you can't say you didn't see it.
8 years in.
What up, bad dog? Yeah, so Patrick, if you're watching, or if one of your goons is watching, I mean, the way they're dropping like flies over at Valuetainment, I don't know if you have any goons. Maybe you have to take a month or so to rehire a bunch of new people because 7 of your key staff left last week. You know, maybe you want to have me on your show. I don't know.
80 years in Kansas or in Oklahoma, that guy's going to sit there and say, babe, we can't afford to pay these guys $20 an hour. I can't do it. And Amazon says, you're not going to pay him $20 an hour? We'll pay him 20. 7 of your employees just left you. They came to us. Don't worry about it. You're out of business. The $22 million you were doing per year, the government just handed over to me. We support minimum wage. You guys are so noble. So when you look at some of these arguments and then you realize the leak in the arguments where you're like, okay, so you're doing $15 an hour. Why don't you go $50 an hour?
So stupid. By the way, there's a book called Dante's Inferno. Well, Dante's Inferno is actually the poem that is part of the Divine Comedy. The book is the Divine Comedy. But I'm thinking about actually doing a video on this about why scammers are truly the worst of all sinners, if you will. I have said about MLM scammers in my life before, when I hear them make ridiculous claims and shit, I've said before that there's a special, like I've said things like, oh, there's a special VIP booth in hell right next to Satan's bathroom for this guy. And in the book Dante's Inferno, sorry, the Divine Comedy, Dante goes through and goes through the 8 circles of hell, okay? And I want to tell you something that I found out recently that I thought was pretty eye-opening and pretty vindicating for somebody who has always held these scammers in the lowest regard. I've always viewed scammers, and especially multi-level marketing scammers, as the truest scum of the earth people that you can get. And I want to share this with you here. Let me bring this up on the screen so you can see. So this is a visual representation of the circles of hell in Dante's Inferno. Okay? The first circle of hell, as we go down the stairs here, is limbo. Unbaptized and virtuous pagans struck with grief from a lack of God's presence. So basically atheists. Lustful, contorted and blown about by violent and endless wind, soul strikes underworld rock. Okay, so these are you see people committing acts of debauchery here. Next is gluttony. So that's, sorry, limbo, lust. Obviously you see these lustful, there's like a bunny, I'm guessing that's like Playboy bunny, it's representing that. Gluttony, gluttons and gourmand, bombarded with rain, hail, and black snow. So the visual representation of the conditions that they're living in this third circle of hell. The first circle of hell, limbo, doesn't look so bad. Lust looks a little more dreary. Gluttony, obviously more dreary than that. The next is greed. Hoarders and spenders, forced to push boulders, souls facing each other, enter into a fierce battle. And there's a picture of Scrooge McDuck down there as well, and I think that's Richie Rich. The next is anger. Wrathful, sullen, lazy. Engaged in eternal combat with one another on the surface of the river Styx, where bodies of sullen are the bottom. The river Styx in Greek mythology is, you might have seen in the movie Hercules, where the souls of people are floating through the water. This is anger. The next is heresy. Heretics and false teachers locked in burning stone coffins. Ooh, does not sound pleasant. Sodomites, usurers, and blasphemers, condemned to a desert of blazing sand with a constant rain of fire. Yikes, that's what we most of us picture as hell. This factors in tyrants and robbers, suicides, gamblers, And then this is in the violence section. The soul, sorry, I'm following the lines here. Below violence is fraud. Interesting. Fraud. Pimps and seducers, whipped by demons while marching. Flatters, immersed in human excrement. Simoniacs, placed in holes headfirst with their legs exposed and burned. What else? Word falsifiers, suffer from fever and headache. Coin falsifiers, disfigured by dropsy and exhausted by thirst. These are money schemers, people who lie. Word falsifiers and coin falsifiers, lying about words and lying about money, aka any income disclosure of an MLM company ever. People falsifier, running around in rage and biting counter. Schismatics, split from chin to groin by sword. Thieves, chased and bitten by reptiles, interconversion with them. Hypocrites, forced to wear cloaks of lead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Fraud is the 8th circle of hell, and the only thing below it is treachery. Betrayers of kin, betrayers of country, betrayers of guests, betrayers of benefactors, lodged head up in blocks of ice, heads face down, corrupt politicians, immersed in pool of boiling pitch. Hypocrites, thieves, I explained this. So, obviously, you can see how somebody who runs an MLM would probably fall into several of these categories. Maybe lust, gluttony, almost certainly, greed, for sure, anger, possibly, heresy, possibly, violence, possibly, fraud, treachery, certainly. Certainly. Treachery being at the bottom, betrayers of kin, betrayers of country. This is why MLM is the most evil, the most devilish thing ever. Because most people who are devoid of soul enough to scam would at least have the decency not to scam their own people, but to pursue a scam that was maybe like a bank fraud scam or a credit card scam, where it's like a victimless crime, you know, where the credit card that you've stolen or the information that you've stolen, that money is insured and the victim will be reimbursed, so there's no long-term harm to them. Or it's just like the banks fuck up and the bank's money is insured anyways. Most people who would do a petty scam or a financial scam would at least scam someone who they didn't know, or scam someone who wasn't their friend. They would at least have, you know, I think most scammers would at least have that level of decency. MLM tricks you and forces you, and then sometimes convinces you willingly to scam your own brother, your own sister, your own parents, your kids. I don't know if Glenn is watching. MLM is fraud. Glenn talks about his dad being an Amway for more than 2 decades now, and the strain it's caused on their relationship. And I'm sure Glenn's dad would be over the moon ecstatic if Glenn would decide to stop being a hater and fix his broke mindset and join Amway. And his dad has been in Amway for over 20 years despite never making any money from it and being more financially destitute now than he was then. Doesn't it say something that fraud falls even further below violence and heresy and greed and gluttony and lust and limbo? Fraud and treachery are the bottomest of the bottom of the 8 circles of hell, the most painful consequences, the most miserable consequences that could be inflicted on a person are reserved for those who have committed fraud and treachery, who have falsified words, who have falsified coin, who have falsified people, who are hypocrites, who are thieves, corrupt politicians, diviners, flatterers, pimps and seducers, betrayers of kin, betrayers of guests, betrayers of benefactors. When I found this out recently, and I found this out after reading an article posted by Robert Fitzpatrick, where, I mean, Robert Fitzpatrick is the teacher who keeps on teaching. He was the one who put me onto this. I was familiar with the story of the Divine Comedy and Dante's Inferno, What I wasn't aware of was the order of the circles of hell. I didn't know off the top of my head the circles of hell. I know in the movie Seven, they talk about the 7 deadly sins, and there's gluttony and lust and greed and avarice and all those. But I didn't know that in this very popular book, fraud was ranked even worse in terms of how evil you were than violence, than by treachery. At least violence you could commit unintentionally. At least violence could be, a crime of passion, as they say. But fraud, it's like it's calculated. You thought about it and you willingly did it. Call me dramatic, but I truly believe that the worst people who exist on this earth are those who perpetuate this scam that we call multi-level marketing. Even this term, multi-level marketing, is an example of fraud. It's word falsifying. It's lying. It's doublespeak, complete deception. Let me read your comments because I'm curious to know what you guys think about this. Dante's Inferno game. I didn't know there was a game. Adam Sosnick is in the basement of this diagram. Gluttony would be engaging with your lust. Let's see. I'm trying to chill at lust, TBH. Let's see. My Dante's Inferno is getting stuck in traffic. So true. No sports talk in this chat. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. MLM does split up families. My sister is a multimillionaire at WFG, and she has chosen the WFG lifestyle over our family. So sad. It's sad. They have 4 6-figure cars while my parents are still working, but my brother-in-laws are retired. MLM is completely amoral. So true. Ask Dominic Izzo what he thinks of that. Well, Dominic Izzo is completely lost in the sauce. I really thought I could get through this Patrick interview. I don't know if I can now.
Why are you so cheap? If you really care about them, go $100 an hour. Why are you so cheap only offering them $15? What makes you think that's it? So there is the back and forth with the debates, but going back to what you're saying with, what's happened with America, I think it's very natural. The whole saying about, good times bring this, but there's another saying that every father and son goes through 3 different phases. First phase, the son idolizes father. Second phase, the son demonizes father. Okay, I don't know if you have kids. I think demonizes the father. And then the third phase is what? The son finally humanizes the father and says, you know what? He ain't perfect. Neither am I. I'm making mistakes. Now I understand what he went through. Let me give him a call. Let me understand this. We have this understanding of trying to make America or the founding fathers be perfect. And then all of a sudden you realize you're not perfect. And hopefully enough people come to their senses to realize, man, I don't know if I could have done what these guys did. Thank you to them.
Yeah. I think in this whole conversation, the thing I appreciate, I think there's basically 3 voices, at least in my orbit, my mental awareness in United States today. Joe Rogan is one that's willing to talk about everything from every angle. Bill Maher has shown some courage with his audience to be able to talk about, bring people on that are going to really make his audience, natural audience, mad. And yourself, you've kind of entered that conversation. And I'm sure there's others, but maybe I'm just not aware of them. I love the ability and the willingness to talk and discuss and be civil, right? Be civil in this whole thing. I want to talk about capitalism just real quick. Why are you a capitalist?
I get to
because when I was in the Army in 1989, we left the
dictate the life I want to build, whether big or small. I'm left alone to build my life to my standards. If I want it to be simple, great. If I want it to be big, great. I remember one time we recruited an agent and we're doing his business plan. One of our guys in the office doing the guy's business plan.
Sid says, when I see PBD tweet now, there's usually ratioed replies talking about MLM. Oh, good. Fuck yeah.
Gets his insurance license. In the business plan, questions asked, why are you doing this? He says, well, on my job, I make $50,000 a year. The only reason I became an insurance agent is because I want to make enough money to buy the...
True, so true, Lib NPC. PBD has all these rehearsed answers for pre-approved questions.
The $30,000 Harley Davidson I want to buy.
Treytino says PBD is hot, but in an evil way. Hilarious.
We're like, what else do you have in place? He says, no, my life is good. Well, do you not want a bigger house? No. Do you not want to travel the world? I love America. Do you not want to have this? No, I just want to be able, with my current job, I can't buy that Harley. I want to get my insurance license so I can buy the Harley. No problem. We're trying to get this guy to be motivated. Now, here's the part. He comes out the gates, Eric. Out the gates. On fire, working, coachable, selling. 7 months later.
If any forensic accountants out there or, short sellers are interested in making money based on an investigation that reveals rampant fraud, I just simply recommend that you look at any multi-level marketing company. If you're able to access documents or internal documents from an MLM company, which I'm sure you can because these companies are constantly churning through distributors and actual corporate staff members, I'm absolutely certain that it would be easy enough to get in contact with someone who is a former accountant who would be willing to anonymously leak certain documents to you to show that there is tax or accounting fraud or payroll fraud or whatever other kinds of financial fraud going on beneath the disguise of the legal, legitimate multi-level marketing company. So I just think that would be a good place to look, a good place to spend your time looking. The donations seem to not be popping up on the screen. Why is that? Stream, dono goal, dono alert. The alerts are not popping up. Jalissa donated. Limitless Female donated $5. Thank you, Limitless Female. Really appreciate that. Where's my thing? And Jalissa donated. Thank you. Jalissa said, when I was in Amway, my mentors had cardinal rules. The first was never do anything for the first time without canceling upline. And you were, quote, not asking for permission, but asking for perspective, SMH. The slight change in words to deceive is demonic. Absolutely. And what you just described there with needing permission falls right under the description and definition of the bite model. You hate to hear me talk about it because I talk about it too often, but let's bring it up because I think it's true and I agree with it. Behavior, information, thought, and emotion. As a matter of fact, I wonder if it's still up on his story. Steve Hassan, let me see, called expert. No, it's not up on his story anymore. But he had posted a series of stories. Here, it's on his highlights. Oh yeah, here it is. Perfect. 2 days ago, you can go look on Cult Expert on Instagram. He has a highlight called Bite Model. Behavior. They regulate and dominate your actions and behaviors through strict rules, rewards, and punishments, limiting individual autonomy. Let me go here. Let me pull it up for you so you guys can see it too, because it's not fair if I'm just showing it, Okay, here we go. 4 signs you're in a cult. Information. They control information through censorship and propaganda, restricting members' access to outside perspectives. That's why they want you to ask your mentor first. Thought. They use psychological techniques to shape beliefs and attitudes, suppressing critical thinking and promoting conformity. This is like when they shifted the language to say you're asking for perspective, not permission. Emotion. They manipulate emotions, fostering dependency and loyalty through love bombing, guilt, and fear-based indoctrination. This could even be something as simple as them calling themselves your mentor and creating this power dynamic, fostering dependency. Of course, controlling the physical environment, rules, rewards and punishments, dependence and obedience, deception, propaganda, discouraging access to outside sources of information, insider-outsider indoctrination, all or nothing, good or evil, us versus them dogma, encouraging only good and proper thoughts, thought-stopping techniques, etc.
He makes $30,000. All of a sudden, he disappears. We call this guy. We're like, where are you? We don't see you here. You're not coming to training. You haven't done this. You haven't done that. He says, what do you mean? I did exactly what I told you I was going to do. What are you talking? He says, remember you asked me for my dream? The only reason I became an agent is because I wanted to buy that Harley. I never lied to you. I got the 30,000 and guess what? Thanks to you guys, I just bought my Harley. Okay. So we're sitting and we're like, this guy, how the hell does somebody stop after you buy a Harley? Don't you think there's bigger things in life?
If he looks like your dad, does your dad look like senior, Kim Possible? I don't even know who that is.
Life, you know, do you not want the finer things in life? Do you not want to go eat at a place where the food is great, 3 Michelin stars, the nice clothes? Nope. I just wanted a Harley. Guess what? You know what capitalism says? No problem. No problem. Capitalism worked for you. It allowed you to get that Harley that you wanted. Now let's go to the complete opposite side. Think about a guy, they sell a company, he owns 15% of it or so. He gets $180 million. Out of the $180 million,
he loves talking about Elon Trump. It's always the same shit.
He puts, I want to say, $100 million into SpaceX. He puts $70 million into a company called Tesla. And he puts $10 million into the solar company, right? The next thing you know, his net worth is $300 billion, okay? He's dated the most beautiful woman in the world. I don't know how many kids he's got. I think he's at 10 right now, 8 or 10. He's got a lot of kids. He's had dinner with everybody. He's met everybody. He's been an Iron Man. The movie Iron Man, played by Robert Downey Jr., there's a scene there because they're saying he's the real-life Iron Man. And some people could say, how much more money do you need to make? You know, and Joe and I, one day, were having dinner, and Joe's like, you know, I was talking to Elon the other day, and he was looking at houses in Austin. And Elon tells Joe, he says, hey, Joe, do you know houses in Austin are so expensive? I'm like, wait a minute, what? He says, this guy's worth $300 billion. But still in his mind, it's like, why is it worth so much money? And he lives in a boxable place that he bought from the company. I think they're even Nevada-based, right down the street from you guys. But capitalism allows him to go be the richest man in America. And capitalism allows the other guy to just go buy Harley Davidson because that was his dream. There is no limits. You pick and choose. And the other part I love about capitalism, I would say personally, I love competition, Eric. I don't know why. I just love competition. What kind of
I love competition, especially when I know that 99% of the people that I'm going to bring into the competition are bound to lose so that I can win. It's beautiful.
Competition. I don't care what kind of competition it is. It could be competition on who can do the most push-ups. It can be who can do the most pull-ups. It can be who sprints the fastest. One night, we're in Encino in this building. I want to say 6345 Balboa Boulevard. It's 03. It's right out of corner.
What is the point of all this extra details and padding the runtime and fluff he adds to it? Why did I need the street address?
Victory and Balboa, the people that see this, if you remember that building, there was about 15 people there that would remember this. I'm in a suit. One of the coaches comes out. He's 40 years old. I'm 23 at the time. Super cocky, okay? And he says, I can whoop any of you right now in racing. Anybody, I can whoop all you 20-year-olds. So I'm like, there's no way this is going to happen. We have to at least find out about this. We go in the back of the parking lot. And I said, okay, I got a suit on. I take my jacket off. They take my tie off. I'm like, I'm going to run. I said, I'm going to take my business shoes off. I take my business shoes off. I just have black socks. So I said, which car you want to race to? We pick a car. It's all the way down. It's like 100 yards or something. Let's race to that car. Great. Ready? We line up, stretch a little bit. Boom. Go. We run. We're right next to each other, right next to each other, right next to each other, right next to each other. And all of a sudden, boom, I take off, right? And I feel like I'm the Middle Eastern Usain Bolt. And I'm just going. Boom. I beat him. And I'm so proud of myself that I beat him. Except I'm noticing that there's a lot of heat under my feet. My feet, it's on fire. I'm like, why does it feel this way? I look back. My entire socks and skin, if you know this visual, I'm trying to give you an exciting visual here. It's all the way back. I couldn't walk for 2 weeks.
Oh,
okay.
my Lord.
You couldn't walk for 2 weeks.
Still worth the feeling.
Still worth the feeling. I'm telling the story 20 years later. Let me tell you, it was an incredible feeling. But you know what the moral of the story is? The desire
Completely made it up.
to compete is a very unique feeling where it's fun to find out if you really are good at it or not. I'm in the Army and I'm fighting these guys. I've never done organized fighting, nothing. I'm just a big guy and I think I know how to fight. There's 200 of us. I'm in the middle. We're fighting. I'm going against this guy, that guy, this guy, that guy. A couple of the big guys, we're going at it. It's a good fight. He wins once. I win once. And then this 130-pound kid shows up. And he said, hey, but David, let me try you. I said, man, I don't want to hurt you, bro. It's not fair. You know, it's fine. He said, no, let me just try you. I said, no, I'm not doing it. He said, just give me a shot. If you hurt me, it's fine. Macho, big ego, tough guy. I come from the streets of LA. I'm like, here's who I am. Within 6 seconds, I'm on my back. And
again, the question was, why do you like capitalism?
I'm tapping out. I'm like, you got to stop. I don't know what you're doing. I said, what's the matter with you? This is what, but there just weren't steps.
Yeah. Most of the corporations in Fortune 500 having radical influence. Should there be any guardrails, or can some person, if they haven't?
Let me see them talk about MLM. It's actually crazy. You know what? If I go to the transcript of the video, this will be very telling. Watch this. If I go to the transcript and I type network marketing, the first, this can't be right. No way. The first example of network marketing is an hour in. What if I type MLM? Wow, they don't even call it MLM. No, network. They only call it network marketing. Wow. And I talked about this in my video.
Marketing models for your company when you started your
Sunday, but it's only he's going because he went to a different church on Saturday.
Insane.
Right? So these are two different types of churches. One, you're going there to say, I apologize for the sins I committed last night at the club in Hollywood, right? So least amount of distractions, highest amount of fire. Fire is when you want to fight for somebody else and yourself. So mom, write book, can't really choose your enemies wisely.
This is his book.
Choose your enemies wisely. Business planning for the audacious few is what this book is about. So I love when somebody has a real enemy. If you don't have a real enemy, I can't really push you. I can't challenge you. If the enemies are fake, if there's stuff that's just weak, not going to move you. So if you're married, you don't speak good.
Yeah, they need to be hungry, and they have to be all three. If they're not all three, they're not worth your time. Group. What would you say is your business, your entrepreneurial superpower? You know, what is the one thing that like separates you? Is it vision? Is it your ability to see things? Is it ability to take action quickly? What is it that separates?
The power of storytelling is basically witchcraft because people just fall for it when he's saying nothing. Exactly.
Separates you from other people that have not done what you've done?
Everything he says is so empty, says Sid, and he always just picks pop culture examples because he has nothing. Exactly. He doesn't actually think anything. He doesn't actually believe anything. He believes if I say this, it will get me this. Thus, I will say that. That's it.
I don't know, reading people, you know, and I know not in the reading people like, you know, Avengers, like what's that one, the show, whatever it's called. But understanding like, you know, where this person is at, you know, and maybe this, there's levels, yes, man, supposed to do anything with his life. And it was over with from there. So that's that part. But I would say what drives me.
Marketing models for your company when you started in your 20s, but you chose a network marketing.
Gave me what good was how to size people up. DSW shoes, those shoes are from this place that's a guy.
Dude.
Paying $10.99.
Okay, I talked about this.
That out. There's no way to find that nowadays. You don't know how many times somebody let the drummer kick, but mine was real.
Hey, more sexual references. Ready?
They're single for 15 years.
Of products and services.
So you know nowadays, like I have friends who are 40 plus that are afraid to date girls. And I ask them, I said, so what are you afraid of? And like, Pat, you don't even know what you're talking about. You haven't been single for 15 years. I said, okay, fair. But what are you afraid of? He says, you know, you don't have a clue how many times this girl's been on Tinder and met like 40 different guys. I'm like, wow, I never thought about it before. That's a fair concern. You know, you don't know if she's been on every one of these apps and she's done this, she's done that, she's done this. How do you find that out? There's no way to find that nowadays. You don't know how many times somebody slid in their DMs and them.
PBD strikes me as just the most controlling guy. Hey, Jen Bet David, I want to do an interview with you. Hit me up from an anonymous account on Instagram. I'd love to talk to Patrick's wife just to see Wagwan.
I realize I don't know what slid in your DMs is. I wrote a message to my wife on MySpace. If you remember MySpace, like that.
What was your theme song?
Mine was I put a hip hop rap song. Hers was Let the Drummer Kick, but mine was like a rap song I put. It's probably Ain't No Future in the Front, and I don't even know if you know that song. But so I'm like, okay, interesting. I don't know this part of the world, but very good concerns. The challenge with the guys that build in the 80s, and I'm talking the Excel guys, or the, you know, whichever those Herbalife guys, the Mark Hughes, I think that was his name. Some of these guys on what they built. It's you know, you're going to.
Mark Hughes was also a piece of shit. Go watch the John Oliver video about multi-level marketing, and he includes the clip of John Hughes, the former CEO of Herbalife, talking about. I mean, he's just a piece of shit. There's the clip of him during his court deposition where he's like, the people who are criticizing our product the other day don't seem to know a lot about health because why were they so fat?
To a phone booth, you're paying. It's a different life. You're driving You know, you have to do VHS tapes. Watch this VHS tape for an hour and a half. So you're back at the truck at 200 VHS tapes and you're going on drop. Hey, I'm going to come back and pick it up. When are you going to watch it? Did you watch it? I got to give it to the next guy. This thing is really hot. It's popping. Then it goes to DVD. Did you watch the DVD? To now it's YouTube videos, DM. A guy goes from this company to this company to this company. So there's so many people in the business that have slept around with 50 different companies. They're like Tinder guys. That's how I kind of look at them, right? So to me, the same way, when a guy would come up to me and I would say, yeah, you know, I was in New York Life and I was in Farmers and then I was in State Farm and I was in Primerica and I, you know, but you know what? You're the guy I want to work with. I'm like, no, I'm going to be the next one. You're going to quit this as well. You're going from company to company to company. So the challenge with today's is, you can't find a lot of, I know this is going to sound weird, a lot of virgin networkers.
Yeah.
They've been around the block too much. So now if you can't find them, and maybe a part of it is on how you're leading them.
I actually think the real reason for this isn't because these people are slutty network marketers. I think the reason is because once the trickery and the deception has failed in one company and the results have been proven to be a lie in one company or two companies or three companies, the likelihood that you are going to retain them in your MLM company using the exact same bag of tricks and lies and deception and manipulation is much lower. I think that's why Patrick wants virgin networkers, because virgin networkers are also the youngest of the bunch, the most naive of the bunch. I think what Patrick's saying here actually translates to, I want people fresh out of high school who don't know any better, who I can bamboozle more effectively, and who will be less likely to leave because they don't have the experience of already being burned by another company that's going to do the exact same scam as I am doing. That's what I think.
That could be your offer to the public, because why should someone work with you is the first question you have to ask yourself. What do you offer? Forget about the company. What do you offer? Are you great on three-ways? Are you great on calls? Are you a guy that's accessible? Can I get a hold of you at 11 o'clock at night? Are you hard to get a hold of? Are you a big shot? Are you this guy that's like driving your Ferrari and nobody can get close to you? There's so many different things that you can offer today to have the edge. But at the same time, it's so much easier to leave you today. So retention is going to be way harder today to keep up. You're going to be exposed if you're not a good leader today versus 30 years ago. They didn't have a lot of choices. They kind of had to stay with you. In the insurance space, there was not a lot of insurance companies to go to recruit. There was only one.
Right.
In the 80s, it was A.L. Williams.
Right.
Yeah, Larry Weidel and some of these other guys, but Art had it. And then came options. So now today there's a lot of options. So
building your culture, and also, I mean, people can date, but don't be a player. You know, they might date this company and, you know, get their feet wet. It didn't work out. They get disrespected.
Totally get it.
And then they find their long-term home. They sink their roots
But
deep.
if you're with 20, that's a problem. If you're with 20, that's a problem.
I heard that you only accept 4 speaking events a year. Is that true?
I only accept 4 speaking events per year.
And you accepted ours, GoPro, in December.
Yes.
Why would you grace us with the one of the 4? Because I know you're very busy.
Because your book has impacted our guys positively. This is one way of me giving back to you. You've done incredible work. Are you kidding me? No. When that book came out, and I'm talking GoPros is what I'm talking about. And your style, when our guys would come and watch your style, you know, this is a good style. It's a good style with this business. It's smooth. It's Jim Rohn. It's likable. It's I want to be around. It's, you know, replacing a father.
Which one of these two is the bigger piece of shit? I would have to personally say PBD. Only because Eric Worre is a piece of shit, but he's a piece of shit who is selling tools that every MLM company uses. I guess you could make the argument for either, really. Whereas Patrick is actually like running his own MLM. I would like to imagine, and again, I don't know, but I would like to imagine that Eric Worre is having is negatively impacting less people through the sale of his tools and books and motivational trainings than someone who is actually directly running an MLM company and recruiting people. But again, I could be wrong. Maybe Eric Worre, maybe the cumulative demand that Eric Worre is getting from selling his scammer tools from all the MLM companies that pay him is actually reaching more people and contributing to more losses. So I don't know.
They're figured that maybe a guy didn't have versus some of the styles is not my style. There's ways to gamify.
Eric is definitely the bigger villain in terms of how he dresses, though.
And try to fool them. That's not my style. And there's a lot of different courses being sold. I just liked your style of teaching and doing what you were doing. And I said, look, Mario called, and Mario's like, Pat, this is Eric Worre.
Yep.
I said, great. I said, let's make something work here. And then obviously we're doing it.
Yeah. Do you know how many copies that book sold? Almost 5 million now.
Oh, I believe you.
Okay, then maybe Eric's the bigger piece of shit. 5 million copies? I'm chilling.
It just keeps going.
I
going
believe
and
you.
going. I've got to get up more books. Are you a big reader?
Massive. Yeah.
Give me a few books that influenced you as an entrepreneur in your life.
You want the weird ones, or you want the usual suspects?
Give me what's an iconic one that's just like, okay, or a handful.
If he says Think and Grow Rich, bro.
Doesn't have to be one.
Okay, so I would say Hypomanic Edge, because it's not a famous book. Hypomanic Edge made me realize it's okay that I'm wired the way I am. Hypomanic will kind of give you an idea of how the individuals are, what they've built. It talks about craziness in business and massive success, something like that. It's an older book. I like Barbarians to Bureaucrats, written by Lawrence Miller. It's an older book. Good luck finding it. But he talks about the evolution of every society that they go through, with the prophet to barbarian to builder, explorer, administrator to bureaucrat, aristocrat, and then a sinner just comes to save that society. Fantastic book. I would put 33 Strategies of War by my good friend Robert Greene. Phenomenal book. Highly, highly recommend it. Blue Ocean Strategy on how to separate yourself from the marketplace. If you really want to figure out a way to separate yourself from everybody else, you got to read Blue Ocean. I would give a new one. That's, if we want to go back, of course, Laws of Success. I can go Psycho-Cybernetics, Power versus. I can give you all of that. That stuff is, in its place. But one that I just read, Psycho-Cybernetics, Power versus. I can give you all of that. That stuff is, in its place. But one that I just read that I recommend everybody reading is Unreasonable Hospitality by
A Sinner Comes to Save the Society. Who is this guy?
Will Guidara. Will Guidara ran the #1 restaurant in the world called 11 Madison out of New York, which I'm sure you've been to. If you haven't, it's the place to go to. But Will Guidara's book, it's a yellow cover, Unreasonable Hospitality. Good luck putting that book down. It's incredible.
Wow. I have a gift for you. Marina, are you around? Can you grab that? You probably already have this, but if you don't, it's one that I think all entrepreneurs should have. I saw a tour of your house, which reminded me of it. You got it? So save the cigars. I'll give him the cigars later, but give him the other one.
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
So I have two of these. This is one of them, the first edition, Atlas Shrugged.
Amazing.
Yeah. Do you have a first edition of it?
So you want the crazy story of this?
Sure.
So in 2010 or 11, Tom and I are at an event in Nashville, Tennessee.
Who gives a fuck?
Doing wine tasting.
And he's the Joe is the #1 podcast in 94 different countries on Spotify.
Dude, imagine, what? It's a question that would make PBD's brain melt. Ask him to do a fuck, marry, kill between himself, Donald Trump, and Joe Rogan.
Joe, okay? And he has the #2 most female listeners on Spotify. Female listeners on Spotify. So what did Joe do? Joe can talk politics. The audience is going to show up.
I didn't say president.
No.
Here we go. He's going to be
big media's done, in my opinion. I think it's all been decentralized. People are going to get it where they're going to get it. They're going to find the voices that they trust. They're going to lean into those voices. And if they lose that trust, they'll find somebody else that they trust. But they're not going to be going through a filter, some big corporate filter that's dealing with ads every 6 minutes, on traditional television, et cetera. It's amazing what's happened with it. You ever going to run?
Eric, I'm intimately familiar with the inside of your house.
For office?
I'm not born here. So
I didn't say president.
No, I'm not interested for anything less.
Really?
No, I don't.
What if they change the law?
I would entertain it. And I think I would make a very fair a very good president if they change the law.
I know people that were connected very closely with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and there were lots of discussions about what would need to happen, and there is a path, and I'm sure you know people as well. There is a path for that to happen. I view a future where that's not necessarily going to need to be a requirement, because I think if you're a patriotic citizen of this country, and you'd be a good leader, I don't see why, if you're born on this side of the border or that side of the border, makes a difference. But I hope you do at some point. You're a young man. It's sure better than 80. 81's not looking so good right now. I mean, I think the whole world's getting nervous as far as what's going on the top end of things. But that would be interesting for me. I want to ask you a question that's one of my favorite questions to ask people that I admire. As we go through our life, there's a million decisions that lead us to where we are, that led us to this conversation today. Right, left, yes, no.
They both have the dead eyes that I've talked about before, the MLM dead eyes, where it's like their face moves and emotes, but their eyes are just empty.
Yeah.
It's like some weird uncanny valley thing. Like millions of years of human evolution have taught us what a normal human looks like, and this just ain't it.
So, good decisions, bad decisions. Try and make more good than
Pat, I'm from LA. I'm tough. Also, I wasn't born here.
bad. But then there's a handful of defining moments, like major defining moments. You're usually at emotional times, or sometimes you don't know that they were a defining moment until years later. You say, you know what? If I would have said no there, or if I would have been in a bad mood in that spot, when I'm sharing this with you, can you think of a defining moment that happened to you and how it helped to shape you?
There's a lot of them, but the other day I was having a conversation with my 9-year-old son. I said, Dylan, can you imagine if you and I never met? And he says, no. I said, there was many chances for you and I to never meet. He says, what do you mean, Daddy? I said, if I didn't go to Las Vegas, June or July of 2002, and I don't go to Thomas Mack Center and sit all the way in the back where Lou Holtz is speaking, and my girlfriend is sitting next to me, and two of my friends are sitting next to me, and this girl is sitting to my right named Jennifer, who is now your mother, I would have never met you. My wife and I yesterday were flying over here from Fort Lauderdale, and she's saying, I can't imagine life not meeting Brooklyn. Brooklyn is our fourth. And Brooklyn is the wisest out of the four because she loves me more than anybody else in the family. She's
She's the wisest because she loves you the most? What?
very wise. And she's fun. She's energetic. She's animated. She makes all these faces. She's funny. Everybody loves her. I can't imagine that, right? If that meeting never happens, my wife and I go into a meeting and a guy named Fernando says, hey, Pat, you won't believe who's in the audience today. Who? Pocahontas is here, because my wife had hair all the way down to her lower back. I used to go to church because I was afraid. I was convinced God answered prayers through other people. A famous poet, Iranian poet, Hafiz, one time says, God speaks through a flute, and the flute is like human beings. He speaks through us.
What up, David? He's so polished, so confident, and so full of shit. Yep. Thumbs up the thing, by the way, y'all. If I refresh this shit and y'all have betrayed me, I'm gonna be pissed. Let's see. 209 likes, 266 watching. We're definitely not where we need to be.
Sometimes, like, you hear a message. So I wouldn't miss church on Sundays because I'm like, I've been praying for something.
Again, the question was, what was the moment that made all the difference for you?
Going to answer, bingo. That's what I need. I would never miss sales. Like, I never miss sales training, ever. I've never missed the sales training because to me, it was like, someone's going to answer a question to me here today. So I've had many different defining moments. To me, is going to a couple events, is being offended, is heartbroken, it's losing everything, being in debt $49,000, back to the recruiting station at 22, 23 years old, about to go back into the Army to do 20 years because I knew I was going to end up, knowing a career path for the military. Or the day I went to the fire state, the local fire station in Granada Hills off of Balboa, right across from Ralph's. It was right next to a tire shop. And I go and I said, I want to be a firefighter. They said, fill out the application. Right now we have a 5-year freeze, and it's on freeze year number 2. And I'm like, man, but I'd be one hell of a firefighter, but sir, we're not hiring firefighters right now. I'm like, dude, I just got out of the Army. I'm a great candidate. Trust me. He says, I'm telling you, it's a freeze, but in 3 years, it'll open up, we'll hire you. When they called me back to be a firefighter, I was already making $100,000. What if I become a firefighter that day? Life is very, very interesting, right, on what happens with it. So this is why part of it, you gotta trust in the man upstairs, even when sometimes something doesn't work out. There's a plan behind it. I drove past the building that I really want to buy. I really want to buy this building. It's $30 million. It's perfect for everything we want. I want this building. To tell you, I have driven into this building that I can't drive into. I've driven into this building by myself 40 times. That's a small number. But you know what I said when I drove past this building? I said, listen, you know I want this building. You know this already. So if you're making this hard on me, I don't like it. But if you know something I don't know on why I shouldn't own this building, I trust it. God, the only thing I ask of you is to hurry up and close the chapter so I don't think about it anymore. It's my only request from you. If you're leaving it open, you're telling me there's a chance, right? Kind of like the Jim Carrey. So for me, it's seizing on those opportunities. The night when I went to sleep, September 23rd of...
Just like the Jim Carrey. So you're telling me there's a chance, bro? My goodness. Just making it up.
09, and I didn't know if I was going to start PHP because my partner backed out the last day, and he's like, no, I'm not going to do it yet. I'm going to come in 90 days. And I wake my wife up at 3:30, and I said, babe, listen, we're doing the company. I'm resigning today. We're going to start the company. Or the day I come back, we're down to the last $10,000 in the bank. My wife just had a miscarriage with our first baby, and I don't have anything going on. We're in this apartment complex. I'm outside walking, listening to my iPod. I'm listening to my song, Foreigner, I Want to Know What Love Is, because I'm an 80s guy. So I'm listening to this on repeat, and I'm talking to God. We're having a big argument. And then boom, next week we get a $100,000 bonus check from AIG, and we make it. Eric, I can tell you 100 stories why we should be out of business. I'm telling you right now, I can tell you 100 stories why we should be out of business. I don't know what I'd be. I figure out a way to make money, but it wouldn't be the kind of money I have today. It'd be a whole different kind of money that I have today. So yes, there's a lot of them. And at the end of the day, what I do have a lot of trust in is I'm going to come through. I'm going to work my butt off. If I tell you I'm going to do something, it hurts me if I don't come through.
I'm going to come through. I'm going to yap. I'm going to babble. I'm going to spew gobbledygook. I'm going to pad the runtime. And I'm going to blow smoke. That's what I'm going to do.
And that mentality of pushing the envelope over the years has gotten me in trouble, but it's served me well 100 times more than it's got me in trouble. So
anybody bets against you, I think is going to be making a huge mistake. One last question. Who would you like to interview that you haven't interviewed yet? Who is the people that you admire, you think is interesting, the world needs to hear the story through your lens?
But these are weird names, though.
I don't care.
I want to talk to Maduro. I want to talk to Jimmy Carter, because I'm in U.S. because of Jimmy Carter. What he did with the Shah when he went there December 31st, giving a toast with the Shah, 1977, and then you create the revolution, and Kissinger doesn't come to save, and you allow Iran to fall because the 25-year contract of the oil deal that you guys signed in 1950.
What are you talking about?
I want to sit down and talk to those guys. I'm more interested in talking to them than I'm about talking about Obama's. Of course, any presidential candidate, everything that's going on, I'm interested in. I want to talk to Ted Turner. Unfortunately, he's not doing well, or else we'd be sitting down with him. But it's weird personalities, certain things that's going on politically. At this phase of my life, I'm just very interested in politics, and
you're kind of like Joe. Whatever's interesting to you is who you want to talk to.
No question about it. You can pay Joe all the money in the world. He's not going to have you on. Yeah. But if he's interested in your story, he will DM you. You don't need to DM Joe. Right. He'll get a hold of you. Yeah.
Well, Patrick, Bet David, I want to thank you for your vision, for your example, for your voice, for bringing a conversation to the world that the world needs at a pretty important time. I do think that this is a tipping point of sorts, and we need a voice in between all the division that's happening to be able to help others understand other people's points of view.
Gibbity gop for sure. I'm more entertained watching my Chihuahua chase her tail than watching these guys, right? This was worse than I thought it was going to be. I never watched the full thing before, but the MLM part was only a small chapter of it, and then you just got to hear Patrick babble and rattle off all the same shit he said before.
So that, your support for network marketing, your support for what I've done over the years, your support for your company and all of that stuff. I want to thank you for all of it. And thanks for sitting down with us and sharing your ideas.
Anytime. Thanks for having me on.
So that's my conversation with Patrick Bet-David. I hope you got value from it. All the things that we referenced are in the show notes. If you got value, do me a favor, make sure you're subscribing wherever you are watching or listening to this particular
show notes, aka the description
interview. Make sure you share it with somebody else. Help us spread the word. Go out there, make your life amazing, and I'll see you next time.
Shut up. Oh my God. I'm glad this dude's channel still isn't doing well. Richard Sletcher. I'm glad this shit is not doing well, bro. This guy, the South African MLM, he teaches you how to speed run scamming, basically. We watched his explanations of the binary plan, the unilevel plan, the forced matrix, the stair-step breakaway, the two-up plan, the mono-leg plan. Scam, 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 and scam. Fucking evil world. Where is it? Let the button do the talking. Oh, wrong button. I pressed the wrong thing.
What you're about to witness is real. The participants are not.
It's an evil world we live in.
It really is an evil world that we live in. And you know, I would really like to be the guy who... We're gonna see, bro. I can't say anything. Fuck. Oh, I can't say anything, but I'd rather risk my life to make the world a truly better place than not risk my life to live a safe and obscure and unremarkable life. That's just the kind of crazy person I am, I guess. But the battle of my life is happening right now. And if you want to support it, Streamlabs link in the chat for sure. You can subscribe to the Patreon for as little as $1 a month. You get access to all the new content first. And yeah, as we talked about earlier with looking at the diagram of the 8 circles of hell, MLM really is, you know, it matches the descriptions of fraud and treachery. And I'm really fighting against true evil. Thank you, MLM.
Thank you for exposing our scams. We are predators. We appreciate what you do as we are stuck in shame and our own trauma to stop hurting others. David loves you.
So true. So true. Thank you, MLM scammers. Yeah, I hope to put you all out of business one day, so that you can either join society as a normal person or, you know, go off and do, you know, the actual illegal crimes that you would otherwise be drawn to if you didn't have the safe haven of this legal crime called multi-level marketing to depend on, because hopefully you would meet your fate, you know, your consequences of going to prison much earlier if you were a thief or a, you know, traditional fraudster or a murderer or something like that. And you would certainly harm less people in the process if you were any of those things. So, yeah. It's a big fight. Literally, no one has ever been in the unique position that I am in right now. There have been people who have been silenced, have been threatened, have been harassed, but nobody has been put in that position who was actually, you know, had a platform and was building an audience and building a catalog of videos with hundreds of thousands of views that dared to beg the question about what MLMs really are and dared to say the truth about what they really are, which of course they are scams. And we're going to see what happens, of course, I'm going to see what happens in the next few weeks here. It's going to be a very pivotal time for me. So, but this is what it's all about. You know, I'm 28 years old and, you know, I'm doing the thing now or the things now that will dictate what the rest of my life looks like. So I'm proud to be doing what I'm doing. I'm proud that there are so many people who support what I'm doing and allow me to keep doing this for a living. And Yeah. I just feel something has to change. I feel like this can't all be for nothing. This isn't all fruitless, you know. Something is going to come of this. Something is going to materialize from these efforts and from the continual growth of the anti-MLM movement. Something has to click. So yeah. Anyways, I appreciate you guys, and yeah, next stream I'm going to be talking about why you may or may not want to support the upcoming MLM conference, which I will be speaking at on May the 2nd of 2024, coming up here in literally just under 2 weeks. So I'll be talking about that on the next stream. And thank you guys. I appreciate you. Do not do drugs. Do not join an MLM. Don't scam people. Be a good person. Let's see. The guy gets 100 views on every professionally produced video. So true, Richard Fletcher. Taking L's in a big way. I'm not in BC. No, I'm not even in North America right now. Marco should hit the whatever podcast. Hey, I don't know who these people are, but just fucking tell them to bring me on. I don't know. I'll go on podcasts. I don't know. The problem is when people invite me on podcasts that have 20 listeners. It's like, bro, I'm not going on that podcast. Why would I go on that podcast? I'm just giving you a layup at that point, and then I'm going to be the one that has to promote it to get people to go click it, and people are not going to click it going from my platform as much as they would if I had just made the video by my damn self. So yeah, appreciate you guys. Thank you for being here. Big pledge, the bigliest, frankly, so true. Thank you, Susie. Appreciate you guys. Okay, I'm in the Congo. Yes, so true. But I'll be back in Canada very soon, and temporarily. It's temporary, so, you know, any friends that want to link up while I'm back briefly, I'm not saying when I'll be back, but any friends that want to link up, any bad gal who want to holla at your boy, holla at me. Yeah. Whatever podcast. Is that the one where he asks girls what their body count is? Whatever podcast. It is, right? What the fuck is this? I have no clue what this even is. Oh yeah, it is. The whatever podcast is the one where he's like, what's your body count? Whatever. I don't know if they'll be interested in having me on based on the content I've seen from their show. I don't know if this is the type of stuff they talk about. Dating an MLM. Well, I do have a story about going on a date with a girl who was in Monet. That's for sure. All right. Appreciate you guys. Peace out. Thank you so much. I'll see you again. Drop the bag. Patreon, Super Chat, Streamlabs, alwaysmarcomerch.com, etc. Thank you. Peace.